The domestication research project is pretty big, and a lot of people do really well on it, but it can be complicated, and one thing that makes it tricky is everybody's doing something different. So if you open up the green Google spreadsheet, you can see every class period, what people signed up for. You can't edit this. It's view-only access, but you can see what people have chosen to research. And then if you know the person in one of the 5 other class periods that's studying the same thing as you could talk to them about it if you wanted to. You don't have to. I give an example, an older example for sunflowers, and this is pretty fancy. You definitely do not need to get this fancy with it, because the template I give you doesn't have all these fancy backgrounds or fonts, and we don't need to worry about that yet. Plus I have a lot more facts than are needed in this old example. So I made a new example with good and bad versions in this research tips slideshow. Before we go to that, I also want to show you the extra credit sign up thing. That link, if you're going to bring in an example, you need to quick fill out this form. If what you're bringing in needs to be brought in just for your class period, like you're studying dogs and you're going to bring in your dog, then that's why the class period times are here. I'm not going to keep your dog all day. But if you have a small animal that's going to be crated, I can put those crates in my back room, and so you can bring it down first period and pick it up at the end of the day. We have 3 days that we're going to present after Martin Luther King Day, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And so you would pick your day, because if you're doing something extra and fancy, you don't want to have to be ready to do it every day. You just pick the day. Tell me if it's a food product, a live animal, or something else, and describe what you're doing. Now remember, you can get extra credit also for just getting a selfie of yourself with your topic, or a video with your topic, or just by getting 12 facts instead of 10. So if we look at the tips, first up, find your facts first. A lot of people get distracted by getting pictures and playing with font colors, but get your 10 facts. It is the biggest chunk of your grade. Do find good sites. So we want to use Wikipedia. It's really great for this project. It can get half your work done. Try to avoid .com sites or just Googling each thing one at a time. That can cause problems. With the human origin, we're not going to get super specific answers because many of these plants and animals have been with us for thousands of years, but we don't know exactly when or exactly where. But we definitely won't get answers in the millions of years. That's the evolutionary ancestors. We don't want that. So on slide 1, you want a big, nice pic. You can send it as your background, but if you do that, make sure that your words aren't overlapping with parts of the picture that would make them invisible. In this picture, you can see that when I have white font on the white part of the picture, they start to disappear, and it's not very helpful. Also, this is a poor quality picture. It's just a screenshot from a Google image search. It's not the actual photo. And a lot of times you can get the actual photo if you visit the website it came from, and it'll be a better quality picture. And then lastly, the picture is small. We could have made it bigger there. Writing things in your own words helps make it easier for you to read them, either if you're presenting or narrating your slideshow. And so by writing them in your own words, it's a lot easier. Nobody's impressed if you just copy and paste a bunch. So this is copied and pasted off of Wikipedia. Nobody wants to listen to you read all that, and let's be honest, you don't want to read all that. So while this is all true facts, you didn't write it, and it would be really, really boring, and we didn't need all that. So let's keep it simple. Rewriting things makes it better for your audience and better for you. Do actually open the sites that you visit. When you open a site like a Wikipedia page or another site, you can find facts you didn't even know to look for and find pictures you didn't even know to look for. Whereas when you just Google image search, so this is a Google image search that resulted in a Wikipedia part, it's actually not really about what people use pigeons for very much. It's super specific, not very helpful. By opening the Wikipedia site, we can find all this extra stuff by reading carefully. It does actually save time instead of just Googling things. We want to use clear fonts that are easy to read and well spread out. So some fonts get too loopy and curvy and tiny. And other times when you change the font color, if it's too similar to the background color, it starts to disappear, and that's really annoying and hard to see, especially when we project things. When we project things, the fonts aren't as bright as they are on your device. We want to keep text and pictures spread out and away from the edges. That way they don't get cut off. It's okay to have some empty space sometimes. And what we can see on our iPad isn't always the view on the slide. So sometimes a piece of a picture or a fact will be cut off because we weren't careful with where it was on the slide. We want to use complete facts and not just our opinions. And so, writing your opinions and throwing like 10 unrelated pictures up, you're not going to get credit for that. These pictures don't match the facts very well and aren't helpful. So pictures should match the facts. These are some examples of the fancy breeds of pigeons. This picture, while it's true, it's very tiny. This is pretty darn useless for here. So while it's a great picture of all the varieties of pigeons, it's just too small to be useful. On your sources slide, remember you need the name of the web address, the website link, and the date you looked at it. So this first website, there's no web address for Wikipedia here. And here we have a Google image search. Google is not a source. Google is a search engine. It helps you find good sources. Also, the last slide is where you can put a silly picture. So I have a picture of a pigeon from a series of kids' books that I loved reading to my daughters. But that's one thing. We don't want to do too much. It's okay to end on a silly note as long as it's related to your topic. But just one thing is enough. If you have too much going on, it's too distracting and people won't look at it. So those are some of my project examples and tips about how to avoid common mistakes. Do your best. Wednesday and Friday, we're going to start to transition this into a video, which we will do using the Adobe Spark Video app. And if you have a video, when it's your turn to present on next Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, you can just play your video to the class and not be as nervous about stumbling on your words and not have to worry about that as much. So I highly recommend making a video ahead of time. It makes the presenting a lot easier. As always, if you have questions, please email or talk to me in class.